Alright, gather around, my financially frustrated Wi-Fi having warriors, because today we're talking about something that's both depressing and oddly motivating. Why Gen Z and millennials are officially on track to be the first generation poorer than their parents. And no, it's not because you bought a $6 latte. That's right, despite all the college degrees, side hustles, productivity apps, and emotional support water bottles, we're somehow still falling behind. While your parents were out there buying homes for the price of a down payment today, you're comparing rent prices to internal organs you're willing to sell. So, what exactly happened? In this video, I'm going to break it all down for you. From the difference between wealth and income, which matters more than you'll ever know, the things baby boomers had that you didn't, and how the cost of basic life has just exploded. But most importantly, I'm going to show you exactly what you can actually do about it. Just some hard truths and the playbook for surviving and thriving in this upside down economy. So if you've ever looked at your paycheck and thought, why does it feel like I'm working 10 times harder for half the lifestyle? Then yeah, this one is for you. Let's dive in. Let's get one thing straight. On paper, it actually looks like millennials and Gen Z are doing fine. Income has actually gone up over the years. In fact, you might even be making more money than your parents did at your age. So then, why does it feel like you're broke? It's because income is a con artist. It makes you feel like you're progressing, even when wealth-wise, you're actually falling behind. Let's take a time machine back to the 80s. Your average boomer could buy a house for just under $100,000. College tuition was basically lunch money compared to today. And if they worked a regular job, they could still afford a home, 2 kids, and a car that didn't double as a toaster. Now, fast forward to today, sure, wages have gone up, but the cost of literally everything else has sprinted ahead faster than your paycheck can even tie its shoes. Housing, up hundreds of percent. Education, 2 to 3 times more expensive. Cars, healthcare, rent, and even cereal, all ballooned. And here's the worst part. When people say, well, just work harder, they forget that Gen Z and millennials are already working more hours, taking on more side hustles, and still not catching up. The problem isn't laziness, it's that the cost of existing has outpaced income growth in almost every meaningful category. And that's exactly what the data shows. Millennials today hold around 40% less wealth than Gen X or boomers did at the same age. It's not about working hard, it's about playing a game where the rules changed and nobody told you. But stick with me, because now we're going to break down the real villain in all this. So let's talk about what's actually draining your wallet. And no, it's not just the oat milk in your iced latte, it's the cost of existing. You see, back in the day, a single full-time job could cover a family of 4, a mortgage, 2 cars, and a golden retriever named Duke. But today, a single income barely covers rent and a gym membership that you never use. Let's start with just housing. In the 1980s, a typical home might cost 3 or 4 times the average salary. These days, try 7 or 8. In some cities, it's basically monopoly money. The average millennial would have to save for a decade just to afford a down payment, assuming they don't just spend it on, food or water. Then there's college. Tuition used to be affordable enough to pay off with a summer job. Now, the average student loan balance is just over $30,000, with millions of people owing 6 figures before they even get started on their first job. And it's not just the big stuff. Try moving into an apartment. You've got broker fees, security deposits, furniture, utilities, Wi-Fi, and 10 things you didn't even know existed until the invoice hit your inbox. Even getting your car fixed feels like a financial hostage situation. And while all this is happening, real wages have stayed completely flat. Sure, you're basically earning $50,000 now instead of $20,000 in 1990, but if rent, tuition, and car payments are 3 times what they used to be, that pay bump doesn't actually mean much. So no, you're not imagining it. The cost of just surviving in this economy has ballooned way past anything your parents had to deal with. If income is the illusion and cost of living is the villain, then debt is the trap that seals the deal. Because here's the thing, debt isn't new. Boomers had debt too, but the kind of debt they had was very different. Most of it was mortgage debt, borrowing it to own a home, which usually appreciated in value. That's what we call good debt. Now, fast forward to today, what's the average person drowning in? It's not mortgages, it's not business loans, it's credit cards, car loans, and student debt. The dangerous kind of debt. The kind that doesn't build equity, doesn't create value, and absolutely doesn't care if your paycheck is late. The average American now carries around $6,000 in credit card debt. and with sky-high interest rates, that can snowball fast. You charge $100 for groceries, miss a payment, and a few months later, you owe $140 for the same bag of snacks and frozen pizza. Multiply that across years and categories, and suddenly your paycheck is going towards past use expenses and not future use goals. Student loans, that one's a beast. Millions are starting adult life tens of thousands of dollars in the hole, often for degrees that no longer guarantee any upward mobility. And while college was once the key to the middle class, now it can feel like an expensive gamble with zero refund policy. Even car loans are getting out of hand. The average car payment is over $700 a month, with loan terms stretching past 5 years. That's literally more than some people pay in rent. So while boomers took on debt to build wealth, today's young people are taking on debt just to function. And that's the trap. Every dollar going to debt is a dollar you're not investing, not saving, and not building freedom with. Here's something that doesn't come up when comparing generations. Boomers didn't just have cheaper houses or college tuition, they had timing, and timing changes everything. Boomers came of an age during a post-World War II economic boom. The country was rebuilding, industries were growing, and wages were rising. College was cheap, home loans were accessible, and the economy was exploding like a 4th of July fireworks show on steroids. Meanwhile, Gen Z and millennials inherit a different landscape entirely. By the time we were entering the workforce, we were greeted with things like the housing market inflated beyond comprehension, a college system priced like a luxury good, entry-level jobs requiring experience that no entry-level person has, and wages that haven't kept up with any of it. But here's the real kicker. Boomers didn't just benefit from the economy, they helped shape the policies that made life easier for them. When they were young, they voted in favor of free or affordable education, strong social safety nets, and union protections. And when they got older, they shifted those votes towards lower taxes on wealth and cutting back on the very same programs that once helped them. Look, this isn't about blaming your parents or starting a generational war. It's about understanding that the playing field has changed. Boomers had the wind at their backs. Millennials and Gen Z are running into a headwind wearing ankle weights. They also weren't competing against the same number of people. College grads were rarer, home buyers were fewer, and the job market was less saturated. Today, nearly half the population has a degree, which sounds good until you realize it makes each degree less valuable in a crowded job market. So if you've been wondering why doing everything right still isn't working, this is why. The rules changed. Alright, so we've covered the bad news. Wages lagging, debt crushing, and boomers having a head start so strong that it's like comparing someone in a Tesla to someone on a tricycle in a windstorm. But here's the good news. While the game might be rigged, the rulebook isn't finished. Millennials and Gen Z aren't just surviving, they're adapting. They're building side hustles, learning from YouTube instead of paying $60K for a lecture hall, and figuring out how to build wealth with tools boomers never had. You have access to a financial education at your fingertips. You can invest with $5. You can build an audience, a business, or a career from your laptop in a coffee shop. You can switch jobs and triple your income in a few years without asking for permission. It's not easy, but it's possible. And here's how to flip the script. First, optimize what you control. Track your spending. Cut what doesn't move your life forward, and use things like the 50-30-20 rule, which I covered in an earlier video, or whatever system keeps you consistent. Financial clarity is step 1. Second, invest early and often, even if it's small. A few bucks into a Roth IRA or index fund every month beats waiting until you feel ready. Compound interest doesn't care about vibes. It rewards time. Third, increase your income. That means learning high-demand skills, switching jobs strategically, and saying no to roles that underpay or overwork you. The fastest path to wealth isn't budgeting, it's earning more. And finally, ditch the guilt. You didn't screw this up. The system changed. And while it might not be fair, you could still outsmart it with strategy. Because while boomers had luck and timing, you've got access to tools, information, and global opportunity they couldn't even dream of. Let's wrap this up with the truth that nobody puts on graduation cards. You're not behind, you're just running a race your parents never had to run. They didn't face student loans that last decades. They didn't apply for entry-level jobs that somehow require 5 years of experience, and they didn't pay $700 a month for a used Honda Civic. But you are, and you're still showing up. You're still learning, working, saving, trying, and that counts. Because here's the truth. Millennials and Gen Z might be the first generation to be poorer than their parents on paper, but you might also be the first generation to get rich on purpose. Not by luck, not by inheritance, not by riding the wave of an exploding post-war economy, but by actually learning how money works, by using technology to start businesses, build skills, and invest from your phone, by ditching that outdated American dream and building one that actually works for you. And yes, it's harder, but it's also more empowering, because when you do make it, and you will, you'll know that wasn't handed to you. So here's your move. Take what you've learned today, cut one expense, make one investment, send one job application that scares you, and start one saving habit you can automate and just forget about. Just start. Because the difference between stuck and successful isn't age, luck, or the economy. It's the choice to keep going, even when the game feels rigged. So if you've got value from this video, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and drop a comment telling me the one move that you're making to flip the script for your generation. We've got this. Let's go.